The side of Nepal the media won't show you. Nepal. Nepal. Mountains that touch the sky. Prayer flags fluttering in Himalayan winds. Our minds instantly drift to Everest, Sherpas, spiritual Buddhist monasteries, and maybe some shaky footage from Annapurna. But hold your yak bells. You're about to see parts of Nepal the media often skips. The quirky, the absurd, the delightfully human bits that dramas of altitude and snowstorms don't quite capture. First up, the hustle in Kathmandu traffic. Forget serene landscapes. Imagine yourself in Kathmandu, stuck in traffic. Honking horns, bewildered pedestrians, scooters zigzagging like noodles. A chicken crosses the road, traffic stops. A fruit vendor sets up shop in the middle lane, traffic stops. A cow casually inspects your car door, traffic stops. It's chaotic ballet. An India-Bhutan crossover, with pulse. The traffic lights might exist somewhere, maybe in dreams. Drivers rely on gestures, winks, unspoken agreements. Pedestrians perform daring moves, sometimes crossing between buses, sometimes tempting fate with a glance. And despite the chaos, there's laughter. Someone spills momo sauce on your shirt. You curse quietly. You laugh louder. That's Kathmandu for you. Next, the microeconomy marvels. Nepal isn't only about trekking permits and COVID-era headlines. There's gold in the small. At every corner, someone is selling something. A woman with silver jewelry made from scrapyard scraps. A kid peeling potatoes in the market, barrel of diallo, that's mustard oil, next to him. Street food stalls offering deep-fried momos, freshly boiled corn, or sell roti, a ring-shaped sweet rice bread. You buy one. It costs less than your Western coffee. You eat it with joy, but your fingers smell weird for hours. You'll see craftspeople weaving wool in their backyard. Metalworkers forging temple bells. Sandalwood-scented incense rolling off hands stained with turmeric. This microeconomy survives on ingenuity and grit. Sometimes you wonder how. But it does. The power outages, but not as you think. Yes, there are brownouts. Yes, lights flicker or vanish, especially when the monsoon knocks at the door. But beyond the inconvenience is resilience. When the electricity goes off, people switch. Flashlights, candles, solar-powered lamps. Phone torches held under chins as ghost lights in dark rooms. Families gather. Neighbors chat across fences. Someone plays a harmonium. Music drifts out. At night, it's nostalgic. You glimpse what life was like before every device demanded charging. You see faces in candlelight. You hear laughter unamplified by speakers. Media loves to show the outage as failure. But perhaps it's a small blessing. And speaking of blessings, the festivals that could fuel a Netflix series. Holi. Dashain. Tihar. Indra Jatra. Gai Jatra. Each one a riot of color, song, dance, food, and sometimes goats. Dashain brings families together. You wear new clothes. You get tikas, those red marks on forehead. You eat meat. You laugh with uncles who keep asking, "Have you married yet?" Tihar, lights everywhere. Oil lamps on every doorstep. Marigolds, garlands, Rangoli art. The skies might drone with fireworks. Dogs get treats, cows get worshipped. Even crows get some love. Indra Jatra, masked dancers, elders parading through streets. Chants, the sound of drums. Even the gods seem to move. And in those festivals, you see Nepal. Not the snowstorm, not the tragic earthquake, not the postcards, but people. Alive, in joy. Let's talk about the schools that do more than teach. Media might show the overwhelmed infrastructure. Crowded classrooms, lack of supplies. But often forgotten are teachers who double as social workers, counselors, even health advocates. In remote villages, a teacher might also deliver messages about hygiene, or encourage girls to stay in school. They patch up wounds. They share stories. They light hope. In some schools, kids walk hours, over ridges, through bamboo forests, to get education. They might arrive dusty, tired, but ready. They share one pen between three. They write in notebooks with pages peeling. But they dream big. One wants to be an astronaut. Another a writer. Another, perhaps, the first female mayor of her village. Media tends to show the lack. But what's often missed is what they build anyway. Then, the hillside tea gardens and hidden coffee estates. Yes, Nepal has tea. Not just any tea, the high-altitude tea that tastes like crisp air and sunshine. Tea gardens in Ilam. Dirt paths lined with tea bushes. Women plucking leaves with nimble fingers at dawn. Tea processing sheds smelling of humidity and leaf dust. And coffee, oh, the coffee. Tiny farms tucked in the foothills. Beans roasted beside kitchens. The aroma curls into the air. You sip, maybe forgetting your altitude sickness. These growers are often poor by income metrics. But they are rich in pride. They know soil, rainfall, seasons. They work with the earth. They nurture seedlings like children. Now, on to infrastructure innovation where you least expect it. Bridges swinging between cliffs. Tiny hydroelectric plants humming in rivers. Solar panels glinting on corrugated roofs. Community toilets built by locals. Recycling programs in tourist towns. In remote areas, people light up homes with solar lanterns. Radio stations powered by mini solar setups. Mobile phone charging stations run off water turbines. Sometimes a whole village pool their labor to build a footpath. Yes, problems exist. But also creativity. And resourcefulness. If you climb high enough, if you trek far enough, you'll see it. Let me introduce you to the mountain people, beyond the tourists. Sherpas, Tamungs, Gurungs, Thakalis, Magars. Faces baked by sun. Hands carved by cold and altitude. Eyes dancing with folklore. They tell stories of the gods walking among humans. Of avalanches, yes, but also of laughter in yak pens. Of festivals in yak meadows. Of goats that wandered off and returned home mysteriously. Of whispered legends around crackling stoves. The tourist sees a guide. Maybe a porter. But there's depth. They are custodians of land, of stories, of generational wisdom. Sometimes media turns them into caricatures, or worse, exotic fixtures. But they are fully human. And on humor, Nepali humor is gold. In Kathmandu you'll hear jokes about the bus driver who can't read the route, yet always gets you, eventually. About politicians promising roads, phones, Wi-Fi. About the rainy season that drips inside your house despite the roof. About festivals where everyone gets fat except the poor chicken. Nepalis love teasing. They laugh at themselves. If something absurd happens, and it often does, they shrug and say, Nepal hoina ta? Isn't it Nepal? It is power. What about the ecological struggles, and the tiny victories? Glaciers retreating. Rivers flooding. Earthquakes unheeded. These are real. But there are also reforestation projects. Community-led forest preserves. Water projects preserving springs for women who walk for hours. Young climate activists speaking up. Trash cleanup campaigns along trekking routes. Tourists often see clean trails and think it's always been so. It hasn't. It's been a fight. People battle plastic bags, soil erosion, the reckless building on hillsides. Which brings me to the urban-rural split, that delightful contradiction. In cities like Pokhara or Lalitpur, you'll find trendy cafes, artisan boutiques, co-working spaces. The youth sips cold brew coffee and scroll social media. They debate indie music. They bemoan the power cuts. 2 hours away, maybe 4, maybe more, you have hamlets where electricity comes sporadically. Internet is iffy. Transportation is walking. Daily chores are fetching water, tending animals, cooking on wood stoves. Yet the people know what's happening in the cities. They want inclusion. They want better roads. They want schools. But they also hold tight to tradition. Home-spun cloth. Local dialects. Dances passed down for centuries. And yes, that tension is messy. Sometimes it leads to prejudice. Sometimes to misunderstanding. Sometimes to policy that ignores remote voices. But from all that friction, there emerges something beautiful. Resilience. A layering of identities. Past and present. Rural and urban. Tradition and innovation. Now, let me tell you about the tourists that surprise you. Not on Instagram. Those who stay beyond the 5-day package. They hitch the bus. They eat dal bhat with their hands. They struggle with altitude. They sneeze at 3,000 meters. They try to learn Nepali. Dhanyabad, namaste, ke cha cha. They ask elders about legends. They get invited to tea in homes. They share rice and laughter. These travelers see more than waterfalls. They see beyond stereotypes. They realize Nepal is messy and magical. Media loves sweeping shots, snow peaks, prayer wheels rotating, temples. But these tourists see muddy rivers, unfinished roads, goats sleeping in front of shops. They see generosity that isn't polished. They see people giving even when they have little. So much kindness in broken English smiles. Here's something media often misses: the domestic travelers. Nepalis traveling inside Nepal. They take buses to see beaches in the south. They climb hills to watch sunrise. They celebrate in their own country, family reunions, weddings, pilgrimages. They don't always take the luxury tour. They ride local transport, eat roadside food. They sleep in tea houses. They shop at local bazaars. Sometimes their journeys are harder. Roads wash out in monsoon. Phones lose signal. Beds are thin. But the stories are rich. Nepal isn't only a destination for foreigners. It's home. And Nepalis travel, discover, celebrate within their homeland. That's a side not enough people abroad see. Now, let's talk about love in Nepal. Yes, love. Young couples in Pokhara by Feva Lake. Holding hands under willow trees. Sneaking glances at temples lit up at dusk. Gonchakar love, awkward, shy. First love letters in notebooks. Gifts of flowers from the bazaar. Old love, gray hair, laughter lines, sitting on verandas watching clouds roll by. Friendships. Neighbors sharing meals. Kids laughing over games in the dirt courtyard. Community love. Neighbors helping when someone's house leaks. Collective prayer for someone ill. Food shared during festivals with whoever came by. Even the stray dogs are part of it, or maybe that's just me being overly sentimental. Finally, the optimism you don't hear enough about. Despite political instability. Despite natural disasters. Despite poverty statistics. People hope. Young people study abroad and bring ideas back. Entrepreneurs start small businesses in coffee, crafts, tech. Artists paint murals that refuse to let walls stay gray. Musicians compose with traditional and modern instruments. Schools teach coding alongside classics. Villages build homestays to welcome tourists ethically. Women lead cooperatives, start businesses, run farms. They believe in tomorrow. Yes, there are tears. Yes, there are critiques. But the energy is there. Media often wants crisis, drama, disaster. It sells. But the real story of Nepal is not only what breaks. It's what builds. What endures. What dances in the street because there's no stage, so people make the road their stage. So what if I showed you Nepal without Everest? Without tragedy? Without the postcard view? You'd see something messier. Something imperfect. Something alive. You'd see food steaming in clay pots. You'd smell wood smoke. You'd hear dogs barking, children laughing, prayer bells chiming. You'd witness poverty, yes, but also generosity. You'd see lack, yes, but also creativity. You'd find traditional rituals still preserved under satellite dishes. You'd see new tech in ancient valleys. Nepal is a palimpsest. Layers upon layers. History. Myths. Aspirations. If the media won't show it all, that's fine. Some beauty is stubborn. It won't be framed. But I hope this gives you a glimpse. So next time someone shows you a sensational headline about Nepal, about disaster or about beauty, remember there's 1,000 tiny ordinary moments that matter. Moments of laughter in traffic jams. Of kids sharing chalk and chairs in dusty classrooms. Of tea leaves plucked at dawn. Of young lovers walking under hazy moonlight. Of elders telling tales near wood fires. That's Nepal, too. The side the media won't show you. But the side worth seeing.